this finger out of my hole. I've been walking the road too damn long. I'm a crippled and a riddle with doubt. I need to get the finger out.
Good afternoon, you fucking legends. How's it going? My name's Darryl, and I am the host of Get the Finger Out. This is the Get the Finger Out podcast, brought to you by me, Darryl. How are you all doing? How's your week been? This is episode 4. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode. Last week's episode I talked about some businessy hustling ideas or things, tips for if you're thinking of doing a side hustle or something like that. My week's been great. I'm 5 weeks sober. Way! It's been quite a journey already. I've been here before. I've many's the time, and now I would definitely be in no man's land. I'm in the danger zone, you know. So this is usually where I am right now. I'm happy. I've got things going on for myself. I'm feeling healthy. I'm feeling really great. And then something normally happens, and I fucking explode everything with dynamite, usually fueled by alcohol. Usually things start falling slowly. I start getting lazy. I start playing Xbox. I start watching too much Netflix. I don't exercise. I stop going to AA meetings. I just and then I just decide, oh, you know what, Darryl, you could have one drink. You could just, well, not one drink, but you could have a creative beer. And then I'd be like, a bottle of wine and then a bit of whiskey, and then holy fuck, it explodes and I get crazy. And all the beautiful things that I've planned, I just self-sabotage them all and they go to shit. But that is not going to happen this time, hopefully. But if it does, I will be coming on the podcast and crying my eyes out about how shite I done and restarting again. In no way am I going to let it jeopardize this podcast. I'm going to keep this going no matter what. So, 5 weeks sober. This week, I said last week or last podcast, it was only a few days ago, but I said I am going to do a two-part sort of a hangover cure for anybody that's dying and they need to go to work the next day or work that day or whatever, and then planning your first week off the drink if you're planning to stop the drink. So if drink's not a problem for you and you're not looking to taper down your alcohol or anything like that, and that doesn't interest you, you can still listen to about half this podcast, and then the second half I'll be talking mainly about alcohol. But apart from that, how are you doing? You keeping well? What are you at today? You driving to work? Are you in the bath? Are you going for a run? What's the crack? The 3 goals. So basically every podcast I'm adding a small daily goal or weekly goal or whatever to make sure that I'm growing every week, and not just, I'm doing all the right things at the moment in regards to the alcohol side of things, but as I've learned in the past, alcohol isn't my only problem. Alcohol's my only problem when I'm on alcohol, but whenever I stop, then that's where the real work lies, in actually mainly getting joy out of life, and joy and happiness and fulfillment and growing, just, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And that's why, so the tasks so far, so I'm going to call them daily objectives. That's what they're going to be called from now on. So my daily objectives so far for the first 3 podcasts are drinking 2 litres of water a day, objective number 1. Objective number 2 is to make the bed in the morning. And objective number 3 is to meditate 10 minutes per day. And to be honest, I've been doing pretty well at those, maybe 70 to 80% accuracy. The meditation, the water, it's all been really good. The water is amazing because I'm not as tired. I don't get as lethargic, drinking water, especially when you're a smoker as well and you don't drink enough water, you just feel shit all the time, And usually, I'm drinking coffee now, but usually I complement a cigarette with a coffee, and then you end up pissing a bit more, and then you end up dehydrated more, and it's just, water is the basis of everything, you need water, you need sleep, you need good food and all the rest, but slowly but surely, the water. So next one is making the bed, and I've explained making the bed is the first little small objective you can do in the morning to get that little dopamine hit that you've just By the way, I don't know the difference really between all those neurotransmitters or whatever, dopamine, serotonin, they're all fucking the same to me. Happy chemicals, I just call them. But serotonin or dopamine or whatever it is, that little hit of fulfillment you get in the morning when you make the bed, and then it makes it easier to go on to do other tasks. So making the bed in the morning, even if it is a bit shit, trying to mindfully make the bed, not making the bed in a rush that I'm thinking about what I'm doing next or whatever, just making the bed and focusing on that task and just saying, I'm making the bed, and I'm maybe making it that it's 80% good, maybe my partner would beg to differ, but I'm working on it, It's slowly growing and slowly getting better. And the next daily objective is the meditation, and I've got about 10 days on and off of meditation done. I've got a little app I mentioned before called Balance I don't know if it's on all phones, but you can get it on Apple for free for a full year, and it's guided meditation. So anybody that has struggled to try and meditate before, it's great, because that's me. If I sit by myself trying to meditate, within a minute I'm fucking done. And 10 minutes is an achievable, and ideally I'm going to increase that as time goes on, and I'll do it with the podcast, but at the moment 10 minutes, anybody can do 10 minutes meditation. And if you've never meditated before, try it, because it's really fucking good. When you open your eyes after meditating for the first few times, you feel so chill, you feel so relaxed. There's no all those invasive thoughts that might be going around in your head over and over again. They're not there, or they're slowed down. They've maybe come into your head during the meditation, and part of meditation is observing the thought, not trying to change the thought, and just put a little peg on it and say, I'll deal with that later, and bringing your attention back to your breath or your body scan or whatever you're doing. So I highly suggest getting on that if you haven't done it. This week I am going to add, after talking with my counsellor, I've decided instead of something I'm going to do extra, I'm going to actually do something less. I'm going to set a boundary, and what that boundary is, well, for this week, I'm not going to have an exact parameter, an exact amount of time, but what it is screen time on the phone, social media, chess, messaging people, all that shit, checking the news. I need to get that down, because any days I've had a bad day, it's been a day that my screen time has been 6 hours in a day. Like 6 hours of your whole fucking day, like that's crazy. Today I thought I hadn't used my phone at all, and I checked my screen time there, and it was at 1 hour and 30 minutes, and that was this morning. That was just in the morning, just a couple of games of chess, going back and forth through emails, messages, Facebook, Instagram. It's a fucking joke, and I did a little thing where I actually added it up in my head, and so even if you only use your phone 4 hours a day, which was like my daily average, I think it was 5 hours a day daily average, maybe 6, 4 hours a day, if you multiply that by the week and the month, I think I worked it out at something like every 7 years you lose like a full year of your life to screen time. It was something like that. Maybe my mathematics is wrong, but it's fucking nuts, a full year of your life just looking into your phone. Like, fuck that. Even if you told me in 7 years I spent like 3 months on my phone, it would still hurt me. But I'm not going to try and take over the world just yet. I'm going to set a parameter next week of what the screen time will be that I want to aim for at the moment, but this week is more of a test. So what I'm doing as a boundary is every time I become aware that I'm on my phone, so we all lift our phones automatically to just look at them and look at Facebook or look at whatever you do on your phone. But I'm becoming more aware, so I'll maybe lift it up, check Facebook, and then I'm like, oh shit, I'm on my phone. Oh shit, blah, blah, blah. Oh shit, I'm on my phone. And at that moment, I've got a decision to make. My brain is telling me, oh, but I just want to check Instagram once more, or I just want one more game of chess. In that moment, I'm just throwing my phone away from me. If you're going to break your phone, obviously don't physically throw it away. But I'm just like putting it to the other side of the room or getting away from the phone, going to do something else to stop using the phone, and just doing that as much as I can to see how much I can bring my screen time down in the next week. And once I do that, then I will set a parameter of whatever I'm happy for. So if you think you use your phone too much and you would like to bring that screen time down, by the way, you would have to Google it if you want to check on a different phone, but on an Apple phone, if you just go to your settings and then go to screen time, you can see how much your daily average, how much you're on your phone every day, and you can check for today how long you've been on it, and it'll also break it down, 2 hours of Instagram, 1 hour of Facebook, 2 hours of chess, or whatever you be at. So that's my new daily objective, is to be aware when I'm on the phone, throw the phone away, and bring that screen time down from 5-6 hours, ideally down to 3 hours or something for next week. And then I'm going to set an actual boundary. I did download an app to try and tell me to not use Facebook. It gives me a thing. It didn't work. I ended up just disabling it. It needs to come from in here. I can't use it's too ironic to use a fucking app to try and stop you using your phone. Like, fuck's sake. Anyway, so before I move on to what we're doing this week, basically, so I watched a documentary the other night. Also, this podcast, I realised last week, I don't know if I was just on the edge or if I needed a piss or if I drank too much coffee, but I was speaking really fast. And I guess I'm going to ask you, do you find it easier to listen to me when I'm speaking really fast and stuff, or is it better if I'm more slowed down like this here? Or should I be slower or whatever? Because it's easy for me to slow down if I'm being consciously aware of it. But, I obviously want to make the podcast good for you as well, as good as it is for me. So just let me know. You can comment on our social media. I love how little businesses start up and say our social media, but it's really just one person. It's me. I'm doing all the fucking filming. I'm doing the editing. I'm doing the everything. So my social media, Get the Finger Out, is the Facebook page. At Get the Finger Out on Instagram. I haven't done anything on TikTok, but I've made an at Get the Finger Out on TikTok as well. I think it's that on TikTok. Maybe that was taken. Maybe I made it something else. I don't know. I'll check. But yeah, let me know somehow. Email address as well is info@getthefingerout.com. But send me any messages, even about the podcast, what I could do better, what you like, what you don't like. If you have any questions for me, if you have anybody with any alcohol queries, I'd be happy to answer, whether you have a problem or not. And as I say, and will say every week, if anybody wants to contact me, especially in the infancy of this podcast, and they really don't know what to do with their alcohol intake or anything like that, I will be glad to help you, whether that's talking you through what an AA meeting's like, bringing you to an AA meeting, or if AA, you don't think it's your thing, just talking to you, just being an ear to listen to you, whatever, if this podcast takes off the ground and I've got 1 million followers, it might be hard to do that in the future, but whether I've got 10 viewers or 10 million viewers, I'll still be doing the podcast every week because it's benefiting me and it's very therapeutic for me. I've got 3 forms of therapy at the moment. I've got my AA meetings, I've got my counsellor, and I've got this. And those things are really keeping me on track and really helping. So, yeah. So what I wanted to talk about before I go on to the alcohol plans is... Hold on, I get a sip of coffee. That's good stuff. So what I wanted to talk about was, so framing a positive mindset. And I came up with this all by myself, and I don't know if it sounds a bit too far-fetched or if it sounds good, but it makes sense in my head, and I'll just talk you through it. So the other night I was watching a BBC documentary. It's called... I think it's called The Living Dead. It's by a man called Adam Curtis. Anyway, if you write in Adam Curtis on BBC iPlayer search, you'll get all his documentaries. And this documentary in particular was about how history is framed. So if you think of anything like a War of Independence, World War, anything like that, we have a certain version of the story, and somebody at the other side of the world might have a different version of the story. And history is basically framed, whatever's written down on the history books, that's what we will know as history, what happened in that event for the rest of our lives, unless somebody goes back to do a second research or to re-research it or something. But so like in easier terms, if you don't fully understand, if you're on a night out and there's two boys called Barney and Fred, who happen to be Flintstones, but anyway, Barney and Fred, and Barney punches Fred in the face, and then Fred punches Barney back and breaks Barney's jaw. So the events leading up to that could be that Barney was having sex with Fred's wife, and that's why Fred punched Barney in the first place, and then Barney punched Fred back. No, who broke whose jaw? Right, Fred broke Barney's jaw, but Barney punched Fred first. So Barney punched Fred because Fred was banging Barney's wife. And say Barney's wife say Barney had been riding somebody else on the side, and then Barney's wife, said, right, let's give it another go, never do that again, blah blah blah. So there's lots of things happening in that story. There was I'm confusing myself. Barney's wife, Barney was riding somebody else, so Barney's wife was annoyed. Then Barney's wife rid Fred, but that was Barney's friend. So whatever way you look at that, everyone's going to have a different opinion, whether you're somebody who's been cheated on before in the past, or whether you're maybe a man or a woman. I don't know. I'm not going to say this touchy subject these days, talking about men and women, but say somebody watched that fight and then they went home and told their friends, and they say, oh, this guy was really violent, he was a bad bastard, and he just punched that guy and he deserved to get his jaw broken because he started the fight. But then somebody who knows Barney and Fred is like, oh, fuck, he deserved to get punched, because he fucked that guy's wife, and he goes home and tells his friends that story. And then one of Fred or Barney's wife, I can't even remember at this point, one of her friends knows that she cheated in the past, and then goes home to her friends and says, he deserved all he got for blah blah blah. The point is, everybody has like 3 different points of view of how the whole story happened. And then even on top of that, maybe Barney's jaw didn't even get broke, he just got hit pretty hard, and somebody, through Chinese whispers, through people telling the story from one person to another, it turned from, oh, he got punched in the face, to, oh, he had a bloody nose, oh, he had a burst lip, to, oh, his jaw was broken. Maybe he had a broken jaw, maybe he didn't. The point is, whenever I, a neutral party, hear that story from 3 different people, I will form my own version of events that I'll go tell my friend about. It's bad to gossip, by the way, but for the sake of the story, I will have 3 different opinions, and maybe I'll only hear one opinion, maybe I'll hear all 3, maybe I'll hear only 2, and depending on what I hear, I'll form my own version of events. And maybe I like Barney more than I like Fred, or I like Fred more than I like Barney. Then I could skew the story to whatever way I want, and that's my version of events. So if I tell that to another person who doesn't know anybody, I travel to fucking India and I tell my Indian friend that story, all they know as their version of history for that event is my version of what happened. So anyway, sorry, that's all over the place there, but the point is, in this documentary it was talking about the end of the Second World War and some of the I think it's Nuremberg Nuremberg trials or something. And so all these boys got into the courthouse and they were sentencing these guys, and they had all these documents about what happened in the war and blah blah blah, and whatever happened after that war, when the war ended, they basically decided this is what happened. At the end of that courthouse, this is what happened. We're not investigating it anymore, and whatever we say today is what is going to be known in history. So anything else is basically thrown out. So the millions of thousands of whatever people that were fighting in that war have different versions of what happened. All their accounts thrown out. Whatever happens at the end of the day, this is the version of history, and that's what we know today. And there might be a few different versions for, people who live in different countries and whatever. I know that's certainly probably the case in Ireland and Britain and whatever. But so what I gain from this crazy, confusing mumbo jumbo is, if I bring that back to me and my brain, and I am the decider of what happened in my day, how I frame my thoughts. So say, I'll try to make a less confusing analogy here. So say I went out and played a game of pool against a friend, and my friend beat me in that game of pool, and I've been practicing for months. I could come home and say, fuck's sake, Johnny beat me in that game of pool. He's such a dick. He mind fucked me. My cue wasn't good that day. I had a sore hand that day. Making excuses up for why I lost. Being annoyed why I lost. Come home and the girlfriend says, do you want something for dinner? And I'm like, I don't want nothing to eat because I fucking lost the pool. I'm in a bad mood. And then I go to bed, sleep on it, wake up the next day, go about my day. How was your day yesterday, Darrell? Fucking shit. It was terrible. Real bad day. Lost the pool. Terrible. So that's one way I could frame that situation. Another way I could frame it is, Johnny beat me at pool. He's a good player. I'll give him credit for that. I'm going to practice more pool and try to get better and trying to beat him next time. And you know what? It was a good day because I failed, but I learnt from it, and I'm grateful that I'm even able to play pool, because somebody mightn't be able to play pool because they live in a third world country and there's no pool tables, or they have a broken hand, or millions of other reasons. But the point is framing that in a positive way, framing what happens in your day, being grateful for what you have, which is kind of hard to do when you're having a shit day. But if you can try to remember when you're having a shit day, be grateful. Just take 2 minutes to say it into yourself, write it down. Even if you're having a conversation with your friend, or some people like to create like a little gratitude journal and write down like 3 things a day that they're grateful for. And that can be something small, like, I'm grateful for this cup of coffee I'm having right now. I'm grateful for the football results. I'm grateful for the weather outside. And after that, anything that happens in the day, try to look for the silver lining. If anything bad happened, what can you do better? What have you learnt from it? What can you do in future to stop having such a bad experience? And look at the positive sides. And by doing that, so when you go to sleep at night and you switch off and go on into REM sleep, or whatever you call it, our memory decides to keep the useful information, and anything else, our brain obviously can't record every single little detail of something that happens in a day. But if you go to bed pissed off about the day you just had, your brain will store that in a negative sort of way. By the way, this isn't based on any sort of science, but it makes fucking sense in my head, so I thought it was worth sharing. So if you go to bed and you think positively about what happened, you'll wake up the next day and you'll feel better about it, and you'll start to grow as time goes on. And I'm certainly benefiting from that. I've had a few really bad days in the last 5 weeks. mainly due to not getting the podcast done, putting that pressure on myself, and doing the reason I'm not getting it done is too much social media, getting lazy, not looking after myself maybe for half a day, getting too many thoughts in my head that day, and I'm just frustrated, end up just playing chess or sitting on social media, and then I get pissed off and it's like it's a shit day. But if I can become aware of that in the moment, and just for a few minutes or a few seconds before I go to sleep, say to myself, well, today was a bad day, what have I learnt from it? I learnt that my screen time was 6 or 7 hours. I learnt that if I, after my cup of coffee in the morning, if I decide to play that extra game of chess instead of getting up and making the bed or going to the shower, then I will just get stuck in a habit loop where I will do that more, and then the day will be coming to an end, or I'll feel it's afternoon and I'm like, there's no point doing anything else in the day. By the way, on a side note, I understand that a lot of people work 9 to 5 jobs or shift work. My main job is working in the pub at the weekends, playing gigs, so you want to reverse that for yourself if you're thinking of yourself when I'm talking. So think about your free time and not when you're at work. But yeah, if I can frame that in a good way, then I'll feel better the next day, because I can wake up and somebody say, how was yesterday? And I'll be like, I had a pretty shit day, and the reason I had a shit day is because I was on the fucking phone too much and I didn't get done what I needed to do. But today, what I'm doing is I'm taking a bit of action and I'm trying to do better. And yeah, so I think that was a pretty interesting realisation for myself, and it makes a bit of sense. So I hope that makes sense to you and I hope it helps. But yeah, coming on to about half an hour now, so if you don't want to listen about alcohol shit or whatever, then you can stop the podcast now and move on to the next episode. Next week's episode, I haven't decided yet what I want to do, because next week will be the 5th podcast. I'm toying with the idea of giving you a brief idea of hypnosis and how it works and how you can even incorporate it in your daily life. But I'm thinking, I have a hypnotist coming on the podcast as a guest, and maybe I should wait until after that, because then, or maybe I should just do it as the podcast. But so before I move on, I'm appealing for guests at the moment. I've got about 10 people that would like to come on. If you have an interesting story of how you overcome an obstacle or anything in your life, you don't need to be, it's not like you need to be doing something really good. I just want to hear if you had an obstacle you overcame in life and how you overcame it, and that's mainly what I want to talk about. So I've got different guests from all different walks of life, and I can't wait to get those on, but I'll be trying to do that every couple of weeks. So please get in touch. Even if you're at the other side of the world, you can always do Zoom, but preferably I'd like to be doing it in studio. So yeah, hold on. I just had to make sure my laptop didn't go off there. It went into standby mode. It's still recording, yes, so that's all good. Yeah, so first of all, so I'm going to talk about 2 things in regards to alcohol. I'm going to talk about a hangover cure. So you're just fucking dying. You're lying in bed maybe right now and you're hungover as fuck and the world's ending. Some people don't seem to get really bad hangovers. Some people seem to be able to just get up and go at it. I don't know if those people are being true, and maybe they're just mind over matter. Maybe physiologically they just don't feel as bad. But for me, and certainly as you get a lot older, definitely it starts getting worse after the ages of 24, 25, and definitely since I hit 30, it's definitely doubled in strength of misery and dread whenever I'm hungover. So I'm going to talk you through a little thing to do. I'll do that first, but secondly after that I'm going to talk about planning your first week off the drink, and that's specifically for anybody who's looking to stop drinking, like indefinitely, or even looking to stop for a month. So another week I will do a podcast about your actual first week and planning your second week. But this will be about planning your first week. But yes, first of all, I will... I just touched my dick there without even thinking, sorry. That was weird. Anyways, hangover cure. So you're lying in bed, you're like, oh God, and your phone's going, you don't want to answer it, you don't want to look at your messages, you're maybe thinking, what did I do last night? And first and foremost, unless something really bad did happen, usually everything that you think bad that happened, maybe you said something wrong to somebody, maybe you sent a message you didn't mean to send to an ex or something, it's usually in this moment, or in that, if you're in the moment right now, or in that moment, it's usually all in your fucking head. And something that happens when we're hungover is, what is it called? I think it's called cortisol. It's like a stress hormone, and you're getting loads of that. And, you know, we've all heard of the fear, you know, and the fear can be called dread or the horrors or whatever. And we just emphasize a thought. We think a thought like, oh, what did I say last night? And then we're like, oh no, blah, blah, blah. So the best thing to do right now, because I haven't thought of a way around that, but I'm just telling you right now, it's never as bad as it seems. And in a few days, you'll be like, whatever, you know. Sometimes it stays with people for a week, but, you know. So what I would say is you want to take your mind off that shit. So first and foremost, you want to repair your body. So I would say get yourself some multivitamins or a Baraka, something that can replenish the B vitamins in your system and whatever. And you want to take that. So usually I get a Baraka, put it in a jar. If you want to take a paracetamol or something like that, then go for it. I never normally do that because I'm always afraid of, you know, I've done so much damage to my liver already. I don't want to take a paracetamol and damage it even more. But if you want to take a tablet to take the edge off, then go for it as well. Now, obviously, the easiest solution is to have a bottle of beer. And if you're not an alcoholic or have a problem with alcohol, usually that would be a good way to go. But in hindsight, that's not a good way to go, because if you build up that idea in your head, which is basically what I did, which is how I became an alcoholic. I think, you know, I honestly believe that. If you get into the pattern where you can drink in the morning, the afternoon, or even that evening, you know, the hair of the dog that bit you or whatever, you'll start to do it more and more every time you're hungover, and then those 1 or 2 days drinking at the weekend might turn into drinking on Mondays, drinking on Wednesdays, you know. So I wouldn't suggest having alcohol. I would suggest the multivitamin first and foremost. And then everyone says drink water, but don't just drink a glass of water. If you have to, fill 2 different glasses full of water and just get between 1 litre and 2 litres into you. Now sip it slowly. If you're feeling sick and you're going to throw up, don't knack a glass straight away, because then you'll just throw it up again. Just sip it nice and lovely. If you can handle a hot drink, I would say get yourself some chamomile tea, or chamomile, whatever the fuck you call it. Some kind of tea that's a relaxant. You don't want normal cups of tea or caffeine, because that'll just, if you get hangovers as bad as me and you feel panicky, that'll just increase, you know, your heart rate and your blood pressure, and maybe the brain chemicals that make you feel stressed. So I wouldn't say to do that. I would say drink some relaxing tea if you want a cup of tea. But definitely liquids, water, you know, fruit juices are quite good. I always, it's quite popular in Europe where you get, like, you know, say half a pint of apple juice and then put half a pint of fizzy water in it, and then it tastes nice and, you know, refreshing and sugary like a can of Coke. But if you get, like, say, apple juice that's, you know, 100% apple juice, and not this shit that's, you know, the cheap apple juice that's just, you know, concentrate riddled with sugar, but even that's good as well, getting some sugar into you, because sugar, when you're drinking loads of alcohol and stuff, your body's getting loads of sugar in its system, and then apart from being hungover and being, less B vitamins and all the vitamins that are, raped out of your system, sugar, you're getting that big boost of sugar whenever you're drinking, and to have a bit of sugar the next day is good. But I prefer to get the sugar the natural way from like a pressed apple juice or something. But the point is, drink fluids, and usually people get a glass of water. I've noticed from watching my partner, I need to drink water, and then they get one glass of water, and then they drink it, and then they forget about it, and then that one glass of water helps you a little bit. But if you drank a lot the night before, it's not doing too much to help you. You won't really feel the effects. You'll just not have a dry mouth or something. So what I like to do as well is just get an empty 2-litre bottle of something and fill it up with water, and just say my goal within 4 hours is to drink that. And the next thing to look after your body is you want to eat something. And we all crave the salty goodness of fast food when we're dying. A burger or a pizza or a McDonald's or whatever. That shit will make you feel good in the short term. The same way a beer would, because you're getting something you crave. We're all addicted to fucking dirt food. That has no benefits for our body. It's satisfying our brain for a short while, but it's not benefiting our body. What you want to do is if you can muster up the courage to go to the shop, go get something salady. Now get something salty, dirty that you want to eat as well, but eat something with it that will have vegetables in it or fruit. Something I like to do sometimes when I can't even eat is I have a little blender, and I just get like 4 bananas, fuck them into the blender, fill that up with ice, crushed ice, or milk if you think your stomach can handle milk. But anything like that there. And even a good thing about a smoothie as well is you can throw a load of different powders in. You can throw nuts into it. You can put all the healthy things in, and then even if it doesn't taste that nice, you can get it down you. So a smoothie's good too, especially on an empty stomach if you're hungover. But I would suggest just something you can pick at. So even if you got like a bag of Doritos or nachos and some cheese and melt it in the microwave, but then you have a salad you're going to eat first, with something good. And you also want to have a bit of protein, so like a lump of chicken. Usually when I'm in a really bad way, I would tell my partner to pick me up just a breast of chicken or just something meaty that I can pick at, and at least I'm getting that protein in my system because my body's probably fucking broken into bits. So yourself what's healthy. I'm not going to sit and try and be a nutritionalist or something. Just get something healthy into your system. So the food and the water, you got that covered. And you want to get a bit of salt into you as well. So they say that you're depleted in certain things when you're hungover. But I do know if you get a Baraka that there's salt in the Baraka, and I think there's salt in it anyway. I think there's most definitely salt in Baraka. But if not, put a bit of salt in the food you're eating. Preferably that Himalayan salt or whatever. But yes, so that's your food and body. Next thing, mentally, your head's a mess. So what you want to do is, if you're feeling panicky all over the place, you want to relax. And something that helps me relax is playing like an online game or something like that. You need a bit of escapism, something to take your mind off the thoughts that are going round and round. Now ideally it would be great to sit and meditate, but the last thing I would do when I'm hungover is meditate, even though I know it would benefit me. But to be honest, I've never actually tried it, so maybe try a meditation app or something. But what I would do is either Netflix and chill. Don't pick something like a horror movie or something like that. Something that would keep you interested, you want to keep watching the next episode, but also something that's shit enough that you can get your broken hungover brain around it and sit and watch it. to the point where you'll be so concentrated on watching it that while the food and the water are doing their job in your body, you're not sitting going in circles in your brain going, oh fuck, what did I do last night? Oh, I'm so dying. Am I drinking too much? Oh, what do people think of me? Blah, blah, blah. All you're thinking is, oh yeah, that show's great. I'm just watching that show and the show's great. And your body is slowly starting to heal because you're replenishing the vitamins and stuff and blah, blah, blah. So do that. But before you get stuck into a big Netflix binge or playing an online game or whatever, also I would say just turn your fucking phone off or put it in airplane mode so you're not talking to people. That's if you get the way I do, and if you drink too much then you probably do get the way I do. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want my mother, my father, friends telling me what happened the night before, all that shit. No, get the fuck away from me. I will deal with that tomorrow. Kind of like meditation. I identify it, I get rid of it. I'm just put my concentration on something addictive like Netflix at the moment. And, you know, if Netflix isn't your thing, jump on the Xbox, read a book, something like that there. But I think everybody's hooked on Netflix these days. Just don't jump on social media because that'll just fry your head even more. At least Netflix will make you feel a wee bit better. But anyway, before you do that, if you can, if you feel you could walk without vomiting, then get the fuck up, get into the shower and shower yourself so you feel a bit clean. Put fresh clothes on, and if you live in a place where, you know, it's full of people and you don't want anybody to see you, if you have a car, well, maybe you shouldn't drive, actually, that's a bad idea. But basically the point is, get the fuck out of the house and go for a little walk, a little mindful walk. Bring a little juice, a little water with you. Maybe go to the shop for a walk, buy some bit of chocolate or something, but also something healthy for dinner, something meaty and something veggie. I personally don't like too many carbs when I'm hungover, but they're good as well, maybe to soak up any excess shite in your stomach. But get out for a walk. So yeah, so I'd basically no, that's for the plan anyway. I'll move on to the plan here. So you just want to do that there and feel a wee bit good. Get home, watch TV, and maybe take a wee half hour to plan your day the next day. Plan what time you're getting up, all the rest, and then get a good night's sleep. Turn the TV off. You know, leave yourself 10 hours before you have to get up, and that leaves you 2 hours if you've got a bit of insomnia, which I always do after I'm dying or after a binge. Leaves you a couple hours to lie there and try and get to sleep. And if you can't get to sleep after about an hour, get up, go for a wee walk around the house. Don't look at your phone. Go down, get a cup of tea, like chamomile tea or something like that there. If you don't have any chamomile, get a fucking lemon and pour it into some hot water. Sip at that and lie in bed and don't put the TV on. Just think about how good you're going to feel in about 72 hours. Know the next day you're not going to feel 100% great, but the next day you're going to feel at least half as better, twice as better as you do right now. So you have enough water in you, you have a bit of healthy food in you. That'll start working at you overnight when you're sleeping as well. If you get a good even 6 hours sleep, you know, but aim for 8, then, you know, you wake up definitely much fresher the next day. When you wake up the next day, get a fucking pint of water in you before you have your coffee or whatever. Get water into you, because all that water you drank is all doing its work, just replenishing all the dehydration in your body, but then you need water for the next day. But anyway, that's my non-scientific hangover cure. I would say if it's really, really, really bad, and also if you've been drinking for days and days and you do have an alcohol problem, then maybe buy yourself like 4 beers and 1 shot of whiskey or something like that there. Some small amount of beer that you're not going to get drunk, or amount of drink that you're not going to get drunk. Maybe just like a half a bottle of wine and 2 beers, or I don't know. That's bad advice for anybody that's got an alcohol problem, or even anybody that is prone to alcohol addiction. It's bad advice. But if it was me, normally it's quite dangerous for me to go off the drink after like 2 weeks of solid drinking, and you know, a lot of people will call their doctor or something like that, but I'll go on to that in the next plan. So yeah, now is the plan for planning your first week off the drink. So you want to go off the drink. It's good to get a notepad and write down the pros and cons of your drinking life. And this is a good little mindfulness exercise for like right now. I've done this 100 times, by the way. But if in the pros and the benefits of drinking, start with those and write down. I find it easy to socialise with friends. I enjoy having a night out, and those first couple hours of drinking before you're blackout drunk and out of your mind. I enjoy having a drink on a Friday night after work to wind down. Whatever your benefits are, write them down in a little list, and then on the other side of the page, write down all the shit things about drinking, how it's affecting your life. So number 1, I can't handle these hangovers anymore, or I'm pissing off my girlfriend, I'm pissing off my parents, my friends are starting to fucking say shit to me, I'm bored out of nightclubs or pubs, I'm worried about my health, I'm not getting younger, I'm starting to look older. By the way, when you go off drink, you'll start to look younger, so there's a good incentive to stop as well. I can't think fast anymore. My memory's gone. I'm getting depressed way too often. I'm feeling anxious. I need a drink to take anxiety away from me. It's fucking up my work. It's fucking up my goals for life. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm stuck in a rut. I can't see. There is millions of things you'll find that you can write down, and then just look at it and say, is it worth it? Is all these bad things worth these good things? Is it worth ruining my life, basically, pissing off everybody I know, fucking up my job, feeling bad all the time, feeling depressed, feeling anxious? Is it worth that for 4 hours crack before I get drunk in the pub? Is it worth it to have a beer that I'm looking forward to after work to wind down? But really, after your work on a Friday, you could have the beer, and yes, you will wind down and you will feel relaxed and grand. But if you get a fucking Domino's pizza or a dirty Chinese or whatever you want after work and chill the fuck out and plan to do something on Saturday when you get up early, you'll feel so much better going back to work on Monday or whatever way you work. I'll not sit here and list the fucking pros and cons. You know yourself, but that's a little exercise to do before you plan to take a week off drinking, your first week off drinking. The next thing, this is more for people who actually do have full-blown alcohol problem, like myself, where if you have been drinking for, days, weeks, and drinking a lot, then it's a very bad idea to just stop. Now, funny story, one time I called the doctor whenever I was fucked. I was throwing up constantly. I thought I was taking a heart attack. I was crying to go to fucking rehab. I was just in a bad way. I called the doctor thinking they would give me like a pill, like a diazepam or something to calm me down. Because I'd read online, it's bad to just stop drinking because, your body will go into shock and you'll fucking freak out. People have died from it, So now a very small percentage of people have died, but you can go and have a seizure or anything like that there. So it is good to contact a doctor in that situation if you have been drinking a lot. For me, I called the doctor and the doctor said, Darryl, all I would suggest is you go and buy yourself maybe 6 or 8 beers out of the off license. And fucking hell, my eyes lit up. At that point I looked at my girlfriend and I was like, doctor, could you tell that to my girlfriend, because I'm pretty sure she won't believe me? And then the doctor told my girlfriend at the time, and she was fucking couldn't believe it. But of course, it makes sense, you know. You need to taper yourself off the drink. You can't just stop if you've been drinking full time, you know. So I would suggest, you know, whatever you've drank the day before, to drink half of that maybe. So say you're stopping drinking, you plan a date. Don't just say I'm stopping drinking tomorrow. Say I'm stopping drinking in 5 days time or a week's time or whatever, and slowly taper yourself off. So I wouldn't say taper yourself down to the point where you're drinking 2 beers in a day. I just mean taper yourself where you're down to about 6 beers. You know, so if you've drank a fucking crazy amount of alcohol one day, then the next day just say, all I'm having today is this bottle of wine and this box of beer. And then the next day I'm taking the wine out of it and I'm only having the box of beer. And then the next day I'm having half that box a day, or have half that box of beer. And when you're down to that, when you're down to like 6 beers in a day, then tell yourself, I'm drinking these 6 beers, you know, I'll drink the first one fast, the second one I'll sip at, the third one sip at, and just slowly sip at them, and you'll find yourself going slowly into a deep sleep, you know. So also when you're doing that, I would plan the last night, so what you're going to do when them 6 beers finish. And ideally, probably good to just have a load of food and a load of, you know, like I said in the last plan for a hangover cure, fruit juices and teas and stuff like that, and tell yourself, as soon as I finish that last beer, I'm just gonna, you'll be dehydrated as fuck, you'll be glad of drinking it, you know. If the old alcohol voice is coming into you and saying, oh, for fuck's sake, I really don't want to stop and stuff, you know, I don't know what to tell you. Some people need to hit a real serious rock bottom. For me, my rock bottom was a mental rock bottom. For some people, it's a physical, you know, lost your wife, lost your job, lost everything before you really want to. Because to stop, beyond any philosophies, beyond anything, if you really want to stop, or if you're going to stop, you need to want to stop deep down. Can't be just like, I'm gonna try this and stop for a month. You need to want to stop. And maybe you need to just keep drinking until it removes so much from your life, until you realise that. But for me, as I said, I ended up, I've been to many rock bottoms, and somebody said in a meeting one time, actually, there is no rock bottom. The rock bottom is death, you know, because so many people have ended up losing everything in their lives, ended up in a mental institute, prison, in hospital, and have went out and started drinking again, you know. So for everybody it's different, but for me it was a mental rock bottom, being in a police cell, walking around in a circle, saying to myself, Jesus Christ, even though I'm not charged with any criminal shit at the moment, this is where I could end up. And it was me realising that for myself and not people telling me it, you know. But straight away, we're coming up to an hour now, so I'll just plough on through here. Plan your last night, have all your food and stuff so that you can just eat yourself into a food coma or something like that. Wake up the next day, have a plan for the next day, what you're going to do. And from the last thing I said there about, you know, your hangover cure and stuff, take from that, you know, just do some shit to make yourself happy, but eat some good food and get yourself hydrated, multivitamins, blah blah blah. That's your first day. If you need to fucking watch a load of Netflix, if you need to watch 12 hours of Netflix or listen to music, go on Pornhub, whatever your thing might be, just do what you need to do to get through that first day. And then in your second day, or whatever day, make people aware, you know, whether that's your parents, somebody who cares about you, your best friend, make somebody aware that you're stopping drinking, you know, and say to them, you know, I might call you for a chat, because it really helps to talk. Like, really, you can't do it by yourself. So I don't know anybody that's tried to do it by themselves and done it. You need help. Now, AA might not be for everybody. I thought it wasn't for me for the 10 years going to it, but now I realise I love it. But apart from the program in AA, which I'm only starting, the main thing is talking, getting to open up every day, and talk about my feelings, my emotions, what I'm going through, and having people, more importantly, that fully understand what I'm going through and being able to offer me suggestions and stuff like that there. But if that's not for you, you know, call a friend if you have somebody to talk to. If you don't have anybody to talk to and you have no friends, text me, send me a message. I'll fucking text you or I'll call you, whatever. Just have a bit of support there. Using Google Calendar is really good as well. Or if you don't have Google Calendar or some sort of calendar on your phone, write it down. If you don't have an actual calendar, get a fucking pen and a piece of paper, write Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and just plan your days out. You know, you don't need to write I'll brush my teeth, blah blah blah, but you can say this first hour of the day I will do all the things I need to do, like brushing my teeth, tidy the house. And that's another thing, tidy your fucking house. Because usually if you've been drinking for a while, your house might be a bit messy, and looking about your house will make you feel bad and lower your self-esteem and make you just feel shit about yourself. Having a nice clean house is good. Wrap up warm, drink your fluids, use Google Calendar to plan your day, and be aware that in the next fucking month, maybe the first week will be easier anyway, because you're still dying basically for the first week, but be aware in the coming weeks there's going to be birthday parties, there's going to be work parties if you have a job, there's going to be people planning, there's going to be things that you didn't expect come up, like, hey, did you hear about this? It's happening this weekend. Oh fuck, you have to go, it's going to be unreal, and everybody's going to be pissed as farts. Just be aware that that's going to happen. You might not have any, you might be sitting there going, I have nothing planned for the next month, so the next month's fine. Something will always come up. There's always a fucking St. Patrick's Day, there's always a Christmas, there's always a friend's birthday, there's always opportunities that just arise. You know, a friend's come home from a foreign country and you'll not get to see them again. You can go meet them for a coffee. You know, you can go for a coffee, plan to see them for 1 hour, and after that hour's up or that 2 hours up, leave, you know, and explain to them, you know, I'm staying off the drink, so this is what's happening. So another thing is, I have to just plow on, we're coming up to an hour. Well, I was going to talk on this in detail, but I have said I don't really know much about it, about brain chemicals, but basically there's dopamine, serotonin, endorphins and oxytocin, which are like 4, from what I can see on the internet. Could be wrong, so feel free to correct me if I am wrong, but your dopamine comes from, you know, achieving small tasks, having a bit of purpose there. So if you clean your house and you go for a walk, you cook yourself a nice dinner instead of buying like a shitty processed food or takeout, all those little tiny tasks will give you little bits of dopamine. These are all chemicals that contribute towards your overall happiness and feeling good about yourself. I'm sorry that I have to rush through these. I'll talk about these once I do a bit more research and stuff in the future. Serotonin comes apparently from, well, you can get it from drinking, I think, but comes from relaxation and stuff as well. So with that, you want to just get into your meditation, and for that, if you're sorry, I had to press enter on my fucking laptop again. If you're going off the drink, then do what I'm doing on this podcast. Just follow what I've been doing week by week, and just, you know, add the meditation, add the 2 litres of water a day and making your bed. Endorphins is another one, and we get that from regular exercise, and I'll be adding that to the daily objectives as time goes on. I have started the gym recently. I've got myself up to running about a mile on the treadmill. Takes me about 15-20 minutes because I'm just jogging. And oxytocin, we get that from love and connection. So I get that from my girlfriend and my dog. So if you have a pet, just petting your pet will release oxytocin, not just in your head but in the pet's head, you know. Also oxytocin, you can get that just by fucking calling someone on the phone and talking about funny things. If I call my mate and we just laugh about our day, you know, that's when you're getting oxytocin. You're also getting it when you hug your partner, if you have one. And again, if you haven't got anybody, if you've drank yourself to the point where you're sitting there alone listening to this podcast, feel free to reach out to me, and I will do all I can to help. And if I can't, I'll point you in the right direction to, you know, talk to people. There's things outside of AA as well. There's a thing called SMART, which is another group therapy thing, and it's it's all about taking control of your own life, whereas AA is all about surrendering and stuff. But you know, you can take what you can from AA as well. You don't have to fully devote to the program. I haven't fully devoted to it yet, although I am going to try it, but I'll talk about that in another podcast. So yeah, I rushed through that because an hour's up, and I don't want to make this more than an hour, because I know myself, when I listen to podcasts that are an hour and a half, 2 hours long, I listen to the first hour, and then whatever activity I've been doing whilst I'm doing the podcast, whether it's a drive to Belfast or a drive to a gig or a bath, and by this point, after an hour in the bath, the water's getting cold and my fingers are like peas and I've shriveled into like a little prune. You know, I feel like an hour is a good length for a podcast, so if it's any longer, you might stop it and then not come back to it. So I don't want that to happen. So, and also I feel after about an hour, at this point right now, you may have noticed the last 5 minutes, my throat starts getting dry. I start rambling too much and having too many ums and ahs and waffling too much on, and I don't want to do that either. So yeah, I'm appealing for guests. This is the end of the podcast. Please send me a message. What do you think of the podcast on Get the Finger Out on Facebook, at Get the Finger Out on Instagram. Please give us a like, a subscribe, a rating, a comment, anything you can. And more importantly, if you have anybody who would benefit from this podcast, whether that's just getting the finger out and fucking trying to do better in life, or maybe it's benefiting you and you want to tell a friend how good it is, and hopefully it is good. And also, you know, I'm going to, every couple of episodes, have an in-depth alcohol have So if you have a friend who's struggling with booze or anything like that, you know, don't say, hey, you're struggling with booze, but just say, hey man, there's this guy, Darryl, and he's doing a podcast called Get the Finger Out, and he's stopping drinking, and maybe you want to listen to it. And finally, yeah, so there'll probably be a theme tune at the start of every episode of this, but right now, at this current moment, it hasn't been done yet. So I'm going to Belfast to try and write and record a theme tune for this podcast. So hopefully that's the one you've been listening to today, and the one you'll listen to in the next 3 seconds. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Have a good week and enjoy yourself.
I need to get this finger out of my hole. I've been walking the road too damn long. I'm a cripple and a riddle with doubt. I need to get the finger out.